this is Al from Transformational Gaming. Appreciate you coming by. Appreciate you coming to the channel. If you like the content, I will ask you to please come back to the channel. And appreciate you just coming by. The channel has been really strong in the last few days, and that is always good news, so I appreciate that. But without further ado, let's get into the topic of my thoughts on the Starfield and the Bethesda conference and all of the greatness that is therein. But the first thing I want to say is bravo to Bethesda, Todd Howard, and Phil Spencer and the rest of the guys. They're really trying to prove me wrong in that Starfield is coming out. And there's some other stuff I want to talk about in the Bethesda show, but I'm not going to talk about that here. I'm just going to make another video about that. But be it as it may, I do think that Phil Spencer and Microsoft did a really good job with the overall presentation. But I was pleasantly surprised to see Starfield in all its glory with the level design. I mean, come on, they've been working on this game for decades. And my fretting is that they completely trashed the game and completely threw away all of the previous work that they did and decided to start over. And that's a really tricky decision, because you basically throwing away 5, 10, 15 years of work. And so that was what I was scared of. But I do like the fact that while the graphics is not as good as the first demo, I do like the fact that they showed something. And that demo shows that was a pre-rendered scene. I mean, that was a CGI scene, same as the Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. That was a pre-rendered scene, so was that. And you can tell because this thing has some serious performance issues. And I'm pretty sure they're trying to fit this on Xbox. But I don't think this game is actually running on Xbox, which is really scary, because if they're using a traditional high-powered PC to develop this game on, and it's running like this, then we could be in for scary times. But again, like I said, I'm glad that they just showed something. You would think that they were further along in the performance area, especially with them being a year out. But maybe they can use that year to shore up the performance. Maybe they're actually done with the game and they just need to shore up the performance, which I'm hoping that that's what the case is, because you're looking at a game like this and you're saying, well, you was supposed to come out this year, and this looked pretty far away from being done and being adequate for consumer consumption. But again, I wish they would have did this earlier. It seemed like it took a couple of videos from me specifically for them to come out with this video, and they needed this video no matter what shape it's in. They need this video. They needed to show some level, some gameplay, some gun action. They say foully that it's basically a RPG, but to me it looks like a first-person shooter. So maybe there's some hell development for that, but I would like to see what RPG elements that they have in the game. I mean, they showed a little bit of it, but what they shown versus what they saying that this is, as far as RPG, it looks more and more like a shooter. I mean, 90% of this footage is you shooting at dudes. It doesn't show that you're building anything, and that's kind of what the game kind of advertised itself as, is kind of being like a No Man's Sky type of RPG slash building colony type of situation. But it looked like they just throw you into whatever colony, and only thing you really building is like your spaceship, which It's cool. I mean, like I said, it's not something that I will say, man, you promised this. No, I mean, I'm pretty sure the game is evolving even right now as they optimize. But this game shows some promise. Do I think it's still not coming out? At this point, you never know what's going on between Todd Howard and Phil Spencer, because Todd Howard is like doubling and tripling down that this is not going to be some type of multiplayer, some type of co-op venture. It looks like he's saying that this is going to be a straight up RPG action adventure game that does not have any type of network capabilities in it, and I think that's pretty good. A lot of people I talk to do not like online, which kind of boggles the mind of, man, how are these online games taking off like Fortnite? You got Fortnite that's doing gangbusters. Overwatch, I mean, they're making billions and billions of dollars from this game, and I know Microsoft want a cut of it, but at the same time, you wonder, are those games really taking off like they said? Because the real issue is they had to get bought, and they got these big IP, and they still had to get bought. So I don't know. Outside of the business stuff, I mean, this game, I'm absolutely looking forward to it. I actually bought a Series X just for this game because I knew it wasn't, once they bought Bethesda, I said it's over for PlayStation. So, and I think this game will do good by it being a exclusive to either platform, because they can dedicate their knowledge and their know-how to one system, and they can really focus in on that system and getting all they can out of it. But again, it's all about what's really going on between Todd Howard and Phil Spencer. I don't think Phil Spencer liked the idea that this game is not going to be multiplayer and it's going to be straight RPG, to be totally honest with you. Especially since the fact that this game is first person. Like, this is honestly, and I second the emotion that this is probably the perfect game to do some type of multiplayer or some type of co-op of some sort. But the fact that you have to play with other people, if I was Todd Howard, I would be like, hell no, I'm not making this into no type of multiplayer. This game was built with a single player action experience in mind, and we're going to keep it that way. And so definitely I could see there being some type of struggle in making this a multiplayer game, especially since Phil Spencer is really the boss. And but he wants to keep talent around like Todd Howard, and they're looking to infringe on more talent, as you see with the Kojima stuff, which I'm going to talk about in a different video. But I mean, you can see that it's important to Microsoft to keep this talent too, so you can see how these deals are made. Call of Duty is still coming to multi-plats, so he's kind of hamstrung in keeping their agreement and things like that. So hopefully this game could come out and they can do whatever they can do to optimize this game. It looks like that's mostly all of what they have left. I mean, to be honest with you, like, there's really nothing else for them to do outside of maybe polishing some of the gameplay like they said, and getting a higher frame rate, which is another thing. That's probably the last thing I want to talk about with this game. They gotta get a higher frame rate. 30 frames per second is not acceptable, especially nowadays. And this ain't using no nanite or anything like that from what I can see. So trying to have this game and build this game without 60 frames per second in mind, I think is be a huge detriment to the game. I think a lot of people will be turned off. Now, I think this game will still take off on PC, but on the Series X, this game has got to run 60 frames per second, and I don't think this game is running on a Series X right now. I think it's honestly running on a PC, and they're probably going to just downsize and retrofit it for the Xbox Series X, which is okay, but you must retain a high frame rate. Heck, even if you made it 45 frames per second, which they're doing for Horizon Zero Dawn, you gotta keep it at a higher frame rate. I mean, there's no way you're going to be able to slap 30 frames per second on there and think that that's going to just squeak by. I mean, a lot of people got their sets tuned to 60 frames per second, and they will have to untune a whole lot of stuff, especially myself, because I would have to do something like turn off the black frame insertion and do a lot of other stuff to, not make it judder so bad at 30 frames per second. So I think Todd Howard was a smart dude. I think he'll do what he can to keep the game at a high frame rate, which is going to have to be for the consoles. Of course, I'm probably going to have to buy this game on PC. That's a good thing. So I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. I think the game is shaping up to be pretty good once they put all of the finishing touches on it, and they got a year to do it, a little bit under a year to do it, but I think that's doable. And yeah, if you guys can see this game being at a high frame rate on the Series X, I know I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it as that. There's no way this thing shouldn't be at a high frame rate on the Series S. But again, tell me what you think. This is Al from Transformational Gaming, and may the truth set you free. Later.